this section, we will come up with another way to graph lines, as well as graphing those equations we will refer to as special cases. Intercepts are those places where the line crosses the x and or y axis. These places will be designated as points or ordered pairs. Notice how the x-intercept has a y-coordinate of 0, and the x-coordinate of this point is where the line crosses the x-axis. The y-intercept has an x-coordinate of 0, and the y-coordinate is where the line crosses the y-axis. Graphing using the x and y intercepts gives us another way to come up with the graph of our lines. A little bit easier maybe than using the table. We're going to find that it is a fairly easy method to come up with 2 points. We have already discussed the fact that the x-intercept has a y-coordinate of 0. So to find the x-intercept, we substitute 0 in for y and then solve for x. To find the y-intercept, we substitute 0 in for x, solve for y. So here are our 2 incomplete ordered pairs. I bet we find the math behind finding the intercepts fairly easy. Not much work here, especially with this equation arranged the way it is. Now that we have the minimum 2 points, we can graph the line. To be safe, we should find a third point as a check. As for me, I make fewer mistakes working with intercepts, so I usually stick with 2. Here's a second example. I start with the 2 incomplete ordered pairs that will represent our intercepts. The math, again, fairly easy for us. Plotting these 2 points and connecting them up for the graph of our line. Before we move on to our next example, a special case, let's reflect on our last 2 examples. Both examples had both variables in the equation. Because of this, both lines had an x and a y-intercept. So what if our equation has only one variable? Remember, we are dealing with linear equation in terms of 2 variables. Even if we only see one variable, we must still think in terms of 2. Here is our first special case. The special cases will be those equations with just one variable. We only have the x variable. Ordered pair solutions will must have the x-coordinates too. Since there's no mention of y in this equation, the y-coordinates can be absolutely anything. Let's consider an easy way to graph this. There's only mention of the x variable. Therefore, there will only be an x-intercept, no y-intercept. If the line is to only cross the x-axis and never the y, the line will need to be a vertical line crossing the x-axis at 2. There are infinitely many points on this line. All of the points have an x-coordinate of 2. The y-coordinates vary indefinitely. By using the intercept idea, we now have a quick and easy way to graph our special cases. Here is another special case. We've got the y variable, no x variable. Our reasoning can be the following. 1 variable, 1 intercept. There will be a y-intercept of -3 with no x-intercept. If the line is only to have a y-intercept, never cross the x-axis, it must be a horizontal line. All points on this line have a y-coordinate of -3, and again, the x-coordinates vary indefinitely. Graphing linear equations is an important concept, so if you are struggling, please seek some help before we move on to other topics in this chapter. Thank you.